Left alone on a date, she met a billionaire CEO who defended her, then hired her as his secretary. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to the main character. Emily Carter sits perfectly still at a small round table near the center of an upscale restaurant in downtown Chicago, the kind of place where the lighting is warm, the silverware is heavy, and the prices on the menu make you double-check your bank balance before ordering. Her hands rest in her lap, fingers lightly knotted, while her phone lies face up beside her water glass, the screen dark and silent. 10 minutes ago, it buzzed with a message she has already read 3 times, hoping the words might change if she stares long enough. Sorry, something came up. I can't make it tonight. No follow-up. No apology. No explanation. Around her, conversations hum softly, punctuated by the clink of glasses and the low laughter of couples leaning toward each other, sharing inside jokes and easy smiles. Emily feels every second stretch longer than the last. She tells herself to breathe, to stay composed, to not let the heat creep into her cheeks, but it is hard when she can almost feel the weight of curious glances from nearby tables. A hostess passes by, offering a polite smile that lingers just a beat too long, the kind reserved for someone who looks out of place. Emily straightens her shoulders anyway. She reminds herself that she showed up. That counts for something. She remembers how much effort it took just to get here, the careful budgeting, the bus ride across town, the navy blue dress she bought on clearance and steamed twice in her tiny apartment bathroom. This date was supposed to be a reset, a sign that maybe things were turning around after months of rejection emails, temp jobs, and interviews that ended with "we'll be in touch." Her stomach tightens as she glances at the untouched bread basket and realizes she has not ordered anything yet. Ordering alone feels like admitting defeat. Leaving too soon feels worse. She checks the time again. 8:37. The waiter approaches, pen poised, asking if she's ready. Emily forces a small smile and asks for a few more minutes. When he walks away, she exhales slowly, staring at the soft reflection of the chandelier in her glass. She is acutely aware of how vulnerable she must look, dressed up with no one across from her, caught in that awkward space between being stood up and standing her ground. She does not know that a pair of attentive eyes from the neighboring table has noticed the message on her screen, the way her smile faltered, the quiet dignity with which she refused to crumble. She does not know that this moment, heavy with embarrassment and restraint, is about to matter far more than the date that never happened. For now, Emily Carter remains seated, alone but unbroken, unaware that her night is not ending in disappointment, but beginning in a way she could never have planned. Emily keeps her posture steady as the waiter walks away again, but inside, her thoughts begin to unravel in a way she has trained herself not to show. She tells herself this is just one bad night, one more disappointment in a long line of them, but the truth presses in anyway. 3 weeks ago, her landlord taped a polite but firm notice to her apartment door reminding her that rent was due on the 1st, not the 10th, and her savings account now sits at a number so low she avoids opening the app unless she absolutely has to. Her last temp assignment ended early when the company decided to outsource the role, and the interviews since then have blurred together into beige offices, forced smiles, and phrases like "we loved meeting you, but decided to move forward with another candidate." This date was not about romance as much as it was about hope, about proof that she was still visible in a city that felt too busy to notice her slipping through the cracks. She glances around the restaurant again, noting the confidence with which other guests flag down servers, order without checking prices, laugh without restraint. Emily remembers growing up in a quiet suburb, where her parents taught her to always be on time, always be polite, always be prepared. Because people rarely give second chances. After they passed, first her mother and then her father within a few years of each other, that lesson hardened into survival. She learned how to stretch groceries across a week, how to choose the cheaper bus route, even if it added 20 minutes, how to keep her resume updated and her voice steady even when rejection stung. Tonight, sitting alone at a table meant for two, She feels the old fear creep in, the fear that she is running out of time to get things right. Her phone buzzes again, and for half a second her heart jumps. But it is only a calendar reminder about a follow-up email she needs to send in the morning. She silences it quickly, embarrassed by her own reflex. The chair across from her remains empty, its place setting untouched, a quiet reminder of how easily people can walk away. Emily considers leaving, rehearsing the graceful exit in her head, but something in her resists. She did not come all this way to disappear quietly. She decides she will order something small, a salad or a bowl of soup, just enough to justify her presence, just enough to remind herself that she deserves to take up space. As she reaches for the menu, she notices her hands trembling slightly and presses them flat against the table until the feeling passes. She thinks about the job listings she saved earlier that day, administrative roles she is qualified for but rarely hears back from, positions that promise stability but feel just out of reach. She knows she is capable. She knows she works hard. What she does not know is how long she can keep absorbing setbacks like this without something finally giving way. Around her, the restaurant continues as if nothing is wrong, unaware that this quiet moment is balancing on the edge of something larger. Emily lifts her chin, breathes in, and resolves that no matter how this night ends, she will not let it define her. She does not yet realize that someone nearby has already taken notice of the strength it takes to remain seated, composed, and dignified when it would be easier to walk out unseen. Emily has just lifted the menu when a subtle shift in the air makes her look up, not because someone calls her name, but because she senses attention. That is not judgmental or curious in the careless way she has already endured tonight. At the table diagonally across from hers sits a man who does not fit the room in the way she expected wealth to look. He is dressed simply, dark jacket, open collar, posture relaxed but alert, as if he is present rather than performing. His phone lies face down, forgotten. He is not staring, not intruding, yet when their eyes meet for a brief second, he does not look away too quickly. Instead, he offers a small, polite nod, the kind that says I see you without demanding anything in return. Emily returns the gesture almost automatically, surprised by how grounding it feels. She turns back to the menu, but the tension in her shoulders eases just a little. A moment later, the waiter returns, and before Emily can speak, the man at the neighboring table gently raises his hand. "Excuse me," he says calmly, his voice even and warm. "I believe this table is ready to order as well." The waiter pauses, then smiles, grateful for the interruption, and looks back to Emily. She orders a simple house salad and water, her voice steadier than she expects. When the waiter leaves, she realizes what just happened. The man did not rescue her. He did not draw attention. He simply made space for her to exist without being singled out. She exhales, a breath she did not realize she was holding. A minute passes, then another, the low murmur of the restaurant filling the gaps between thoughts. Finally, the man speaks again, not looking directly at her, as if giving her the option to ignore him. "Rough night," he says lightly. Emily hesitates, then answers honestly, "Yes, but I think it is getting better." He smiles at that, the expression brief but sincere. "I am Alex," he says, offering his name without ceremony. Emily replies with her own, surprised by how natural it feels. There is no flirtation, no pity, just two people acknowledging the moment they share. Alex gestures toward the empty chair across from her table. "If it is all right," he says, "I was supposed to meet someone here too, but plans changed. If you would prefer company, I am happy to sit. If not, no offense taken." Emily considers the offer. Everything in her life has taught her to be cautious. But something about the way he gives her an easy out feels respectful, not transactional. She nods. He moves his chair slowly, careful not to draw attention, and sits down. For the first time that evening, Emily does not feel like the room is watching her. They exchange small details, harmless observations about the restaurant, the unpredictable Chicago weather, the strange expectations people place on first meetings. Alex listens more than he speaks, and when he does talk, he chooses his words with intention. Emily finds herself laughing softly, surprised at the sound of it. She does not ask what he does for work. He does not ask why she was alone. There is an unspoken agreement to let the moment be what it is. Neither of them knows it yet, but this simple decision, to sit rather than walk away, has quietly altered the course of the night. The food arrives, and for a few minutes the world narrows to the simple comfort of conversation and the quiet ritual of eating. Emily feels herself settling, her earlier embarrassment fading into something manageable, almost distant. She is mid-sentence about a temp job she once took that lasted exactly 4 days when a sharp voice from a nearby table cuts through the room. "Well, that was fast," a woman says loudly, not bothering to lower her tone. Emily freezes, fork hovering inches above her plate. The comment is followed by a short, knowing laugh from the same table, the kind that expects agreement. Emily does not look over, but she can feel the heat rise in her face, the old instinct to shrink, to apologize for taking up space. Before she can decide whether to ignore it or quietly excuse herself, Alex sets his fork down. His movement is unhurried, deliberate. He turns just enough to address the comment without escalating it. "Excuse me," he says evenly. "I am sure you did not mean to speak about people at another table." The woman blinks, clearly not expecting to be addressed. She opens her mouth, then closes it, glancing around as if suddenly aware of how many people can hear her. Alex continues, his tone calm, not confrontational, simply firm. "We are all here to enjoy our evening. Let us allow each other that courtesy." There is no anger in his voice, no performance, just a quiet boundary drawn with confidence. The table falls silent. A few nearby diners look back at their plates. The moment passes as quickly as it arrived. Alex turns back to Emily as if nothing unusual has happened. "I hope your salad is good," he says, offering a small smile. Emily stares at him for a second, then lets out a breath she did not realize she was holding. "Thank you," she says softly, surprised by the steadiness of her voice. "You did not have to do that." He shrugs lightly. "No one should feel uncomfortable for simply sitting at a table," he replies. "That is not a special favor. That is basic respect." Something shifts inside her at those words. She has spent so long convincing herself to endure quiet slights, to let moments like that slide in order to avoid making a scene, that she forgot what it feels like to be defended without being made into a spectacle. They return to their conversation, but the tone has changed. There is a deeper ease now, a sense of trust that was not there before. Emily notices the way Alex listens, how his attention does not drift to his phone or the room. When she speaks, he looks at her, really looks, as if her words matter. She tells him about her background, her parents, the winding path that brought her to Chicago. She does not mention the date that never happened. She does not need to. Alex shares small pieces of his own life, carefully chosen, nothing extravagant, just enough to be real. Time moves differently after that. Emily only notices how late it has gotten when the waiter asks if they would like dessert. She declines, glancing at her watch, suddenly aware of the hour and the long bus ride home. Alex stands as well, pulling his jacket on. Outside, the city air is cool, the streetlights reflecting off the pavement. For a moment they stand there, the unspoken question hanging between them. Tonight could end here, neatly, safely. Emily thanks him again, meaning more than the words convey. Alex meets her gaze. "I am glad I was here tonight," he says. "So am I," she answers, and for the first time in a long while, she knows it is true. The next morning, Emily wakes before her alarm, the pale light slipping through the thin curtains of her apartment and settling on the cluttered desk by the window. For a moment she forgets where she is, caught between sleep and memory. Then the previous night comes back in pieces, the restaurant, the empty chair, the quiet confidence in Alex's voice. She sits up, surprised by the unfamiliar feeling in her chest. Not excitement exactly, but steadiness, as if something fragile inside her was reinforced rather than shaken. Her phone rests on the nightstand, and she hesitates before picking it up, half expecting the moment to dissolve into something imagined. But there it is, a simple message sent just after she got home. "I hope you made it back safely. Thank you for the conversation." Emily smiles despite herself and replies, "Me too. Thank you for last night. It mattered more than you know." She does not overthink it. She does not add anything extra. After months of second-guessing every word she sends into the world, the ease of honesty feels like relief. The day pulls her forward quickly after that. She sends follow-up emails, scans job listings, and reheats leftover soup for lunch. Yet the weight she usually carries feels lighter. In the afternoon, another message appears. Alex asks if she would like to get coffee later in the week. No pressure, no expectation. She agrees, choosing a small cafe near the bus line, practical as always. When they meet 2 days later, the interaction feels natural, unforced. Alex arrives on time, dressed simply again, and orders without looking at prices, a detail Emily notices but does not dwell on. They talk about ordinary things at first, favorite books, cities they have lived in, the strange comfort of routines. At some point, Emily admits she is looking for stable work, something administrative, something that will let her breathe without counting every dollar. Alex listens closely, his expression thoughtful, not pitying. He asks about her skills, her experience, the kind of environment she thrives in. The questions feel different from interviews she has endured before. They are not traps. They are curious, respectful. He does not interrupt. When she finishes, he nods slowly, as if committing her words to memory. Before they part, he pauses, then says there might be an opportunity she would be well suited for, something professional, something that values discretion and organization. He does not elaborate, only asks if she would be open to a conversation. Emily agrees, her instincts alert, but not alarmed. There is something about the way he frames it that feels clean, not opportunistic. That night, she searches his name online out of quiet curiosity, expecting little. The results surprise her. Articles, business profiles, photographs from events she has never attended. The man who shared a salad with her and defended her without spectacles suddenly occupies a very different context. Her first reaction is disbelief, followed by a flicker of embarrassment, then something steadier. He did not lie. He simply did not lead with it. The realization sits with her as she stares at the screen, understanding now that the calm authority she sensed had weight behind it. Instead of feeling small, she feels oddly respected. Whatever comes next, she knows one thing with certainty. The way he treated her when he was just Alex mattered more than any title she has just discovered. Emily spends the next 2 days in a quiet state of anticipation, not excitement exactly, but alertness, the kind that comes before something important. When Alex sends her an address and a time, he keeps the message professional and clear, asking her to bring a copy of her resume and assuring her there is no obligation attached to the meeting. She arrives early, standing across the street from a glass building that rises clean and confident against the Chicago skyline. The company name is displayed discreetly near the entrance, one she recognizes instantly from the articles she read the night before. Her heart beats faster, but she steadies herself, reminding herself that she has earned every step that brought her here. Inside, the lobby is quiet and efficient, polished floors, soft lighting, and a receptionist who greets her by name without hesitation. Emily follows directions to the upper floor, noting the calm precision of the space, the kind that suggests order rather than intimidation. When the door to the office opens, Alex is already standing, jacket off, sleeves neatly buttoned, exactly as composed as he was over coffee. "Thank you for coming," he says, motioning for her to sit. Emily returns the greeting, aware of the shift in context but not shrinking from it. He begins by explaining the role, an executive secretary position that requires discretion, organization, and judgment, someone who can anticipate needs rather than react to them. As he speaks, Emily listens carefully, recognizing the weight of the responsibility, but also the alignment with her skills. He asks her questions, direct and thoughtful, about past roles, about how she handles pressure, about what integrity looks like to her when no one is watching. Emily answers honestly, resisting the urge to oversell herself. She speaks about mistakes she has learned from, about boundaries, about her belief that respect is not optional. Alex nods, absorbing her words without interruption. Then he does something she does not expect. He leans back slightly and addresses the obvious. "I want to be clear," he says calmly. "What happened the night we met was not a test, and this conversation is not a favor. I did not offer to meet because I felt sorry for you. I offered because I saw how you handled a difficult moment with dignity, and because our conversation showed me how you think." Emily meets his gaze, the knot in her chest loosening. "I appreciate you saying that," she replies. "I need to know that if I take this role, it is because I earned it." "You did," he says simply. He slides a folder across the desk, outlining the position, the salary, the benefits, everything transparent, everything above board. Emily takes a breath as she reads, aware that this could change her life in practical, measurable ways. She does not answer immediately. She asks for time to consider it, to make sure she is choosing this for the right reasons. Alex smiles, approving rather than surprised. Take the time you need, he says. The door is open either way. When Emily leaves the building, the city feels different, not softer, but more navigable, as if she has been given a map she did not know existed. She understands now that the moment he defended her was not the turning point by itself. The turning point is this choice, made with clarity, offered with respect, and grounded in the same quiet integrity that first drew them together. Emily does not accept the offer immediately, and that decision follows her into the quiet days that come after. She reviews the folder at her kitchen table, reads every line twice, runs the numbers with the same care she uses to plan her grocery budget. The role would mean stability, health insurance, a paycheck that does not require constant calculation. It would also mean proximity to Alex, a complication she refuses to ignore. She tells herself that clarity matters more than comfort, and so she takes a walk through her neighborhood, past the bus stop where she waits every morning, past the small grocery store that knows her by face, if not by name. She asks herself whether she would respect this job if Alex were anyone else. The answer comes quietly but firmly. Yes. When she returns home, she sends him a short message accepting the position, professional and composed, thanking him for the opportunity. His reply is immediate but measured, welcoming her aboard and confirming her start date. Emily shows up early on her first day, dressed simply and neatly, carrying a notebook she bought specifically for this role. The office greets her with polite curiosity. Some people smile warmly. Others glance twice, clearly wondering how she arrived here. Emily feels the familiar pressure of being evaluated, but this time she does not internalize it. She listens, observes, and takes notes, learning systems, schedules, preferences. Alex treats her as he promised he would, with respect and clear boundaries. Meetings are efficient. Expectations are explicit. When colleagues address her, they do so through her role, not through him. Still, the undercurrent is there. She hears fragments of conversation, speculation disguised as humor, assumptions formed without evidence. One afternoon, a senior staff member questions her authority in front of others, suggesting she check with Alex before making a routine decision. Emily pauses, then calmly explains the protocol she was given and proceeds. The room quiets. Later, Alex calls her into his office, not to correct her, but to affirm her judgment. "You handled that well," he says. "You do not need my permission to do your job." Word travels faster than she expects. Over the next few days, the tone shifts. Tasks are delegated. Trust is extended. Emily earns her place not through proximity, but through competence. At the end of the week, as she organizes files after hours, Alex stops by her desk. He thanks her for the work she has done and for the way she carries herself. Emily nods, appreciating the acknowledgement, but also aware of the careful line they both maintain. "I want to be clear," she says, meeting his gaze. "I am here because of the role." He smiles, understanding immediately. "And that is exactly why I wanted you here," he replies. When Emily leaves the building that evening, the city lights feel less intimidating. The doubts that once followed her steps have not vanished, but they no longer lead. She understands now that this chapter is not about being chosen. It is about choosing herself, standing firmly in a space she has earned, and allowing whatever comes next to grow for mutual respect rather than imbalance. The shift comes quietly at first, almost imperceptible, as Emily settles deeper into her role and the office rhythm tightens around a major upcoming board presentation. The week is dense with preparation, schedules overlapping, expectations rising, and Emily becomes the steady center that keeps details aligned. She notices the tension before anyone names it, the way certain emails stop including her, the way a few conversations pause when she enters the room. It would have unsettled her once, but now she observes without reacting, documenting facts, confirming timelines, protecting the work. The morning of the presentation, a last-minute change threatens to derail everything. A missing document tied to a decision Emily authorized earlier in the week. A senior executive questions it publicly, implying that the call was premature. The room quiets, eyes turning toward her. Emily feels the familiar pressure, but does not retreat. She opens her notebook, references the protocol, and explains the rationale clearly, citing approvals and outcomes. There is no defensiveness in her voice, only clarity. When the executive presses again, suggesting she acted beyond her scope, Alex does not interrupt. He watches. Emily finishes, then adds one sentence that reframes the moment. If there is a concern with the process, I am happy to review it after the meeting, she says, but the decision itself aligns with our stated priorities and save time without increasing risk. The board chair nods, satisfied, and the conversation moves on. Afterward, in the hallway, a colleague warns her quietly that some people think she advanced too quickly, that her proximity to Alex makes her an easy target. Emily thanks them for the information and returns to her desk. Later that afternoon, Alex asks her to step into his office. He closes the door, not to isolate her, but to create privacy. I want to address what happened this morning, he says. Emily meets his gaze, prepared to stand by her work. He continues, I did not step in because you did not need me to. That matters. She exhales, the tension releasing. Slowly, I need to know one thing, she replies. That if this ever becomes uncomfortable for the wrong reasons, we will address it directly. We will, he says without hesitation. The understanding between them deepens, not romantically, but professionally, grounded in mutual respect. That evening, at a company reception tied to the presentation, Emily navigates conversations with ease she did not know she possessed. She listens, responds thoughtfully, and maintains boundaries. When someone jokes about her rapid rise, Alex redirects the comment without fanfare, crediting her work specifically. Emily notices how he uses his authority, not to elevate himself, but to protect fairness. On her way home, she reflects on the path that brought her here, the date that fell apart, the choice to stay seated, the courage to accept an offer without surrendering herself. The crisis did not break her. It clarified her. She understands now that belonging is not granted by proximity or approval, but built through consistency and truth. Whatever happens next will not be an accident. It will be the result of choices made openly, tested publicly, and upheld with integrity. Months later, the city no longer feels like a test Emily has to pass each morning. Her routine has changed, not dramatically, but meaningfully. She walks into the office with purpose, her role clearly defined, her voice recognized. The work has expanded, responsibilities deepened, and with that growth comes a steadier confidence that does not depend on praise. One evening, after a long day tied to closing a major partnership, Alex asks if she has a moment. Not in his office, not formally, but over a quiet walk along the river where the noise of the city softens into reflection. They talk about work at first, about decisions made and lessons learned, about how leadership reveals itself most clearly under pressure. Then the conversation shifts, gently, honestly. Alex acknowledges what has been present but unspoken, the respect that has grown alongside their collaboration. He is careful with his words, making room rather than making claims, as a leap, but as a step aligned with who she has become. I would not want anything that compromises what we earned, she says. Neither would I, he replies. They agree to move forward slowly, transparently, with boundaries that protect both the work and the trust they share. Time continues, and the office adapts not through gossip, but through consistency. Emily is promoted, not because of proximity, but because her results speak for themselves. Alex continues to lead with the same restraint that first defined him, using his influence to elevate standards rather than individuals. Their relationship grows outside office walls, grounded in conversation and mutual regard. There are no grand gestures, no public declarations, just the steady alignment of values tested over time. One evening, they return to the same restaurant where everything quietly began. The table is the same size. The lighting is just as warm. Emily sits across from Alex, no longer waiting, no longer wondering if she belongs. She realizes that the night she was left alone was not an ending, but a clearing, a moment that stripped away illusion and revealed her strength. Alex reaches across the table, not to claim, but to ask, and Emily meets him there as an equal. She understands now that dignity attracts dignity, that integrity invites integrity, and that the life she has built did not arrive by rescue, but by choice. The city hums around them, indifferent and vast, but for once, Emily feels entirely at home, grounded in work that matters, love that is earned, and a future shaped not by chance, but by character.